Hello and welcome to the Money Queen podcast. I am Alex Nicolaitis, the Money Queen. I am here to break the stigma that we don't talk about money here. I will deliver the loving bitch slaps that you need in your business to elevate you as a leader and support you through to that next level of welcoming in the wealthiest version of yourself. Backed by 14 years in the accounting and bookkeeping industry, I utilize the support of the masculine systems, structure, and ATO compliance combined with the feminine energetics of mentoring and allowing ourselves to be open to receiving and holding space for queens like yourself who are committed to forming a healthy relationship with money. So hit that subscribe button, leave me a rating, and I cannot wait to have you by my side as we raise the feminine collective and create true generational wealth and change.
Hi, hello everyone. We've got a special guest today and gosh, she's a good one.
The best guest.
Oh, I don't know, probably today, yes, I don't know. Sorry to everyone else I've had on. This is what you'll expect of us in this episode. A little bit of banter, playfulness, but we're here for it all. And who it is Sofia Rose Bernardi, obviously. The. So she's one of my besties in Brisbane and yeah, we have been friends for, I'd say almost a year-ish.
Yeah,
now.
we were definitely in contact before then, but we met for the first time more or less a year ago.
Yeah. Why she's come on board this episode is because we just have some epic fucking chats and I'm like, this gets to be recorded.
Yeah.
People get to listen to this. And she has a wealth of knowledge and experience behind her, starting out in business at 22 years of age and absolutely thriving now. So first question, we're going to jump on in. Starting at 22 years old, you've been in business for 4 years now? Yeah. What did you do differently than other people? Because the statistics are horrendous of the amount of businesses that fail. What did you do differently, especially at a young age, that's allowed you to actually still be in business and thriving today?
Honestly, it's such a simple answer. I think it's just that I let passion lead the way. I think so many people jump in, maybe for money or for whatever it may be. And whilst I love money, and that is, of course, a factor and a big one of business, it was never like, I want to start a business so I can make heaps of money. In fact, I don't even know when money actually started really crossing my mind. Like the first thing was very much, finally, I found my purpose, because for many years, like all in school, all my friends knew what they were going to go study in university, and I never had that experience. It took me a long time, what I felt. I know I was still young, but it took me a long time to figure out what I wanted to do. And the moment I finally found coaching, I was just so thrilled that, I finally have a purpose. And so I just let that excitement and passion lead the way, and I think it continues to lead the way, and I think that's why.
Yeah, I love that. And having money be the byproduct of the things that you love, and that when you wake up you're like, I get to do this today, I get to be excited, as opposed to waking up going, I have to go to work or I have to serve these clients. It's like, no, you actually get to do that.
Exactly. Like I'm here for all of the bits and pieces. I'm in it for the long run. I don't have this exit strategy or this plan of not doing this. I'm like, I envision myself doing this in 10, 15 years time and more, as long as I desire to do it. And so it's not money tying me down or keeping here or driving it. Like, don't get me wrong, I love money and it is important, but it's not what's number one getting me out of bed in the morning. Like, oh my God, I need to make money. It's like, oh my God, I'm so excited to work on this creative project within my business right now. Like, I'll stay up so late doing something I love, and I'm never watching the clock or I've worked too much or, none of that, Yeah.
And the thing that you just said now, I'm not working too much. Like, I know I've seen your calendar and at times, because I used to be a workaholic, and seeing your calendar, every time you show it to me, it is a beautiful reminder to me to go, how full is my calendar right now? Like, what do I get to remove from it to actually create space in my world? And because freedom is a high value of mine. And I'm like, how am I living up to my values right now? So if I haven't shared that with you before, there you go.
Thank you.
But what other values do you embody that allows you to actually have that, I guess, disconnect with money, and then it, empowering money around your world to it, so that it can actually flow freely into you?
Yeah, so I may not have necessarily been aware of this when I first started, but what I now know is freedom very much drives me. It's very important to me. And freedom presents itself in different ways. I don't mean freedom like I want to just sit on the beach and drink cocktails and not do anything. Like I very much want to do something. And so you've obviously seen my calendar. And of course, there are some days or some weeks that are much more full than others. But more often than not, I do have a lot of spaciousness in my calendar, which I'm grateful for. And yet, what I then choose to do in that time is often like work on my business and not from this place where I have to. It's like, what else would I want to do? And I have other hobbies and things like that. But my point is it doesn't feel like work. And so I have that workaholic tendencies of like, I love what I do. And, you know, if you ask me what I want to do on the weekend, working on my business in some shape or form is probably going to show up there. And if you said, hey, and we've done this, like you said, hey, do you want to come to the Sunshine Coast with me for the day? There's no hesitation. I'm like, yep, my work can go to the side, because that freedom of being able to choose and say yes for the things that I want to do in that moment is so important. So I think it's a combination of like creativity, passion, working on something, building something. Like the game of business is something I've really come to love. The freedom of choice. So not freedom of like, I don't want to do anything, but just the freedom to choose. Very much value that. And then absolutely helping people. Like, I don't really care how much money I make if my clients aren't happy and getting results. And, you know, there's a detachment piece there as well of, you know, the responsibility is on them to utilize what I teach. And that's a journey I've had to go on. But my point is like money with unhappy clients, not a vibe for me. So I think that absolutely drives me. Like, for example, there's a course component to some of my programs, and it's like, it's absolutely fine just as it is. And yet I frequently improve it and upgrade it and change it and things like that, because I'm like, how can I make this better? And it's very time consuming to redo things. And I could so easily choose to be like done is more than enough. Let's just leave it there. I'm going to use that time on doing whatever I want. And yet I choose to improve the service because it's a value of mine. So they're the top things that come up for me.
Yeah, I love that. And the continuous commitment to delivering the best service.
Yeah.
Because there's an awful lot of coaches out in the world, an awful lot of like startup coaches, which is where like a lot of your clients come from. So like, how can you actually be a point of difference? How can you, be that person where people go, oh, Sophia, like I want to go to her because of what she's done, how she's embodying her work, and how she is actually able to hold me because of all the things that you've been through. So love that.
Yes.
A piece in that which you mentioned, environment, like that you have actually created around yourself to go like, this is what freedom means to me. This is the lifestyle that I'm choosing. Talk to me about your environment at the moment, and also what it was like when you started out. Compare the two.
So yes, my environment has very much shifted over the last 4 years. Like it's almost unrecognizable. And then if you go like maybe even a year before I decided to start my business, very, very different again. So there's definitely been big iterations, and it's evolved over time, which it will for everyone. Different stages of phases will look different. But I suppose before I started my business, I was working 5 casual jobs, working around the clock, in hospitality, babysitting, cleaning, all of the things. And I was at one point even living with my grandparents in their spare bedroom and just like moving around a lot. And my relationship with money then was very much like hold on to every dollar kind of mentality of like, I need to earn XYZ to like survive and have savings. That security piece for me was absolutely huge. So I've never been one of those people that's like not had any money. Sure, when I compare to now, it seems very minimal, but I was very big on like savings and security. Like I really needed that in order to like function. And so I'd work a lot, anything to just top up my account a little bit, like $20 at a time, So my environment was very, very busy, very full, and very ambitious, like overworker. Now I've realized how much my environment plays a huge role in how I feel, like who I spend time with, literally my home, and everything around that. Like environment is a really, really big piece to how I feel, and therefore the flow on effect is the amount of money I make and the way the business grows. So it plays a huge role. And how it shifted over time is, you know, I poured every inch of my time and energy into growing the business. And as it grew, I paid attention to that and adjusted accordingly. So they got to a point in the beginning of my business where it was primarily one-on-one coaching that I didn't have any time to then continue to grow the business. And then I adjusted immediately accordingly, you know. So then I transitioned to group coaching so that, yes, I could still help that amount of people. So I guess it was like quite big picture thinking, and continue to also grow my business rather than having to have one cap, like one or the other. I didn't really ever want that. And then I've just continued to do so, like with boundaries, standards, expectations, so that, you know, I have support so I can spend time on the things that matter the most to me.
Yeah, I think one thing that rang home for me in that was, as your business was growing and evolving, you were constantly checking in on like, where am I at right now?
Yes.
As opposed to like my own journey. I remember when I started out, I was like, my entire life was the business. Like everything else was fallen by the wayside, and I didn't check in with myself. So like I got to a place, I think like 3 years in, and I was just like burnt out to the shit house.
Yeah.
Because I did not.
I hear of it a lot, actually. I listen to podcasts, and so many people have this huge burnout story, and some of which, like, they literally shut down their business, or they completely start again, or they take this year break. I hear of it all the time, and if I'm being completely honest, that's never been a part of my journey. I think because of those check-ins of like, and it wasn't necessarily a conscious thing, more just like, oh, like I really want to be able to have like time, and the other areas of my life, like my relationships and my health, are such a priority for me, and I don't want one thing to have to come at the cost of the other. So whenever an area got too full, I'm like, okay, I either need support, or I need to change it or upgrade it or whatever else. And I think I just continuously do that, and will continue to do that.
Yeah. And I think that by doing that, it strengthens the trust within you as a business owner, within you as a leader, and you as a woman, as a person. And trust is a huge thing that I see females in business lacking. And we spoke about this in your podcast episode, which if you haven't listened to it, go and listen to that as well, because it's awesome. And it's like, we lack trust in ourselves. Therefore, we don't trust ourselves enough to have a challenging conversation, to ask for money that's owed to us, to ask for a sale, to put ourselves out in social media, to go for the walk, which we said we were going to do last night, and now you're waking up and you're a bit tired, you're not going to. So forget where I was going with that. Trust. Yeah. So it's like how that trust is built and built and built, and it's a muscle that gets to be flexed essentially over time. And then because you're so focused on the impact that you're making, you know, love and trust yourself. It's like, of course money's going to be an ample outcome of that. Of course you're going to create an abundant flow. Of course you're going to have the best environment for yourself. So like that is so fucking key. And from an outsider looking in, like that's something that I'm like, yes, like you get to be the example for other women in your space to be that gets to be their reality as well. So
thank you. So many compliments today.
I'm just going to say the elephant in the room. Like, the recording thing just now just like shut itself completely. So we're just re-asking a question and going from there, because you know what? Sometimes in life, shit just does not go to plan, and that's exactly what just happened then. But we are persistent, we are consistent with our actions, and we're going to move forward.
Yes, exactly.
So another layer to that is all my passwords just failed prior to going into here. So I'm like, okay, there's you know what? The lesson in that is there's always an option and there's always a way forward.
And perseverance is key. Like we had so many opportunities to be like, fuck it.
100%. Like, we'll just do it another time. But it's like, I'm not going to be back here until another month.
Yeah.
And it's not the same when you're in person.
And all the conversation we just had was so good that it wouldn't feel as right to restart it and it be now a more clinical answer. Like that was the rawest form. So we will just move on.
Move forward. So health and fitness. It is important to you right now with your lifestyle, your environment. It plays a really key part of like what gets you up in the morning and is thriving the stage of business where you're at the moment and your life as well. So talk to me about your health and fitness lifestyle right now.
Yes. Well, Alex forced me to join the bougiest gym in all of Australia. He absolutely did. Every day's like, have you joined the gym yet? So I was forced into it, but here we are. It's
happily forced.
Yes, happily forced. But it has already shifted my world for the better. And it's amazing how one decision can have such a flow-on effect. And for context, this gym is genuinely titled as Australia's largest luxurious gym. So I'm not mucking around here. Like, it is a very bougie gym and it's priced accordingly. And it was a very big jump to go from, you know, your average gym membership to this one, which is, you can't really just call it a gym. It is a health and wellness facility. Yeah. It's like 4 levels. There's more equipment than you could ever imagine. There's an entire rooftop with a cafe, a working area, infrared saunas, normal saunas, salt rooms, ice baths, you know, magnesium pools, snow rooms, quite literally, and I could go on. It's very luxury. It's not just a gym. There's a whole wellness component to it, which is personally my favorite part. And the reason, I suppose, why we're having this conversation is because it's about so much more than just joining a gym. It's when you invest in yourself and make decisions that are in alignment with your values, the flow-on effect that can have, not just in that one area of your life, but in many areas, and in particular with money as well, and how investments in yourself can really shift that. So yeah, health and fitness is a value of mine, and joining this gym really has made me quite uncomfortable because it is such a jump. It's not just joining a gym, it's really like entering you know, a whole different sphere in my life. And with that has come a lot of mindset things that are, yes, uncomfortable, but not to the point of not leaning into it. I'm happy to lean into it. And the growth has been really cool in just a few weeks alone.
Yeah, because I remember, like, the people that go here, like, they look beautiful. Some of them smell beautiful, depending on when they started their workout.
Everyone has an 8-pack somehow. Didn't know that existed till this gym.
Right?
But I really think it's because, like, it's not by accident or anything like that. It's because with that investment comes a certain level of commitment.
Yes.
And that, to me, symbolizes that they all prioritize their health and fitness, and it's not just something they say, but it's something they do. And to pay that money per week to be there, you know, you'd be crazy not to take action on it. And it kind of goes like with any investment, you know, you're going to show up a certain way for something that's free versus something that's paid, and something, again, as the investment increases more often than not. And I think that's a reflection of how most people look at that gym. And it's very uncomfortable when you're just starting out and it's new to your world, hey?
Yeah, 100%. And I think with that, the theme with that I pull out of that is that with a coaching program, for instance, similar to the gym, you could spend $80 and go to a really nice gym and get a great experience, or you can pay, I think it's like 130-ish or 160.
Yeah, 135.
Yeah.
And you have the option to even pay more than that if you wanted more inclusions on top of that.
Yeah, right. There you go.
Because if you want the Pilates and the run club, it's fucking
Yes.
another $40 a week. It's
But
crazy.
it's like, what level of investment are you committed to? And so gym and a coaching program, it's like, am I an $80 person or am I a $165 person?
Yeah.
Like, and the energetics that are connected to who says yes to that and who shows up to that in relationship to that investment, I think is massive. And like, I think when I've gone through different stages of going, what am I going to invest in right now in terms of money and also time? Because I remember when I moved to Brisbane, slightly shifting gears right now, I was so intentional about the friends that I wanted to create here. And they are worlds apart to the friends that I had like left behind,
Previously.
for lack of a better word. Previous friends. And not to say that they're like, they're just different. The conversations that I have with my Brisbane friends are just different.
Because one was intentional and another was just, that's the environment you're in, so they're the friends I have. But when you moved, you kind of got that opportunity to reflect, being like, well, I've got a clean slate here. Do I want to just settle and just see what happens, or do I want to make moves towards what I want? And that's what sounds like you did.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think like you did the same when you moved to Brisbane. It's like, why am I even coming here? For what purpose? Like, I could easily just stay in Adelaide and do the same thing as I've always been doing and expecting like the same results. Like, but I actually want something different from my world. And how can I challenge myself to seek out that discomfort and move into something completely different? And like, now you're having, you know, different circles of friends, different level of business, and like your lifestyle now gets to still include parts of like your past because you're traveling there a lot. And it's like, it's actually opened up yourself to more experiences and more connections and more clients because you're like, oh, this gets to be my reality now.
And I think like something that's really coming up for me that's important about this conversation, like as in why are we talking about health and fitness when it comes to like money, mindset and business? But it's because, you know, everything touches everything, as you very often say. And I really just believe like it's one thing to say something and it's another to do something. And another common pattern in the conversations we've had today and even over the last few days as we've been together is really about leaning into discomfort. Like I know that my values in health is in health and fitness. Was it easy to sign up to that gym? No, I avoided it. I found so many excuses, as you witnessed, to like delay it. And I thought they were so valid, but I now see that, you know, sure, they were valid. And if you really, really want something, would you be willing to find a way? And I realized, yeah, these are valid excuses, but have I asked if there's a way around this? So just for some context, I know I'm going away for 5 weeks and that seems inconvenient to join a very bougie gym. But as soon as I called them and shared that circumstance, they said, yeah, you're so welcome to pause it while you're gone. I'm like, so I could have joined weeks ago, you know? And it's just so interesting that like, you know I value health and fitness. Is it still comfortable to like make decisions towards that? Like not always. Like it was incredibly uncomfortable. And even being there, it brings up stories, and that's, you know, easier to avoid than it is to own. Like I've really felt like I don't fit in there, I don't belong there, who am I to be there? Like all these stories have come up and I'm getting way more comfortable with it now as I've leaned into it and accepted that and whatever else. But those thoughts were initially there. You know, I genuinely convinced in my brain that everyone was like invited to go to this gym and like belongs there, and then I've like had to pay to go there. Like that's the imposter syndrome that's coming up from this gym, because everyone looks just incredible and you know they have these friendships and stuff, and now I'm realizing actually maybe they're all talking together and have these friendships because they're here and that they spend time here and they invest time here, and all of a sudden I've met people at the gym and you know I know people's names and I'm talking to people, and it's because I put myself in the room. And I think bringing it back to business and growth, it's like you've got to put yourself in the room, you've got to lean in, even if it's comfortable, but it's aligned with your ultimate vision. Totally easier said than done. I recognize that, but yeah.
But I think, you know, to the point of easier said than done, like
still do it.
Yeah. But you don't need to bite off your entire life in 1 week.
Yeah.
You don't need to do everything in one go. So if your goal was to get up to the rooftop, for instance, just get your foot in the damn door. Work in the cafe.
Yeah.
Not work in the cafe, but like...
Look at other people work on their health and fitness. Just sit there.
Exactly. And then like do a group class, then do a class by yourself, or you know work out by yourself, and then go, okay, cool, it's a really hot day today, I'd actually really love a swim in the top. So like what are those micro steps that you can actually take action with and start to embody? Okay, cool, I'm not a 7 day a week gym person, but like I'm a 2 or 3 right now, and that's actually okay for where I'm at right now. And a story that I faced off with over the years in business and also with my health and fitness is like still showing up and still making progress in that direction is better than someone staying at home. And like, okay, McDonald's as an example, they make like average burgers and you expect an average burger. They're making billions of dollars around the world, but I could be at home making the perfect burger, like the most delicious, the most sustainable, the most ethical, all the things. But because I'm stuck in my kitchen building this perfect burger that no one knows about, I have no revenue. I have no profit. I have no like presence whatsoever. But McDonald's is over here bold enough to make an average burger and have the
and be consistent in that. Like it doesn't matter where you go in the world, that freaking thing's going to taste the exact same.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So what would you rather? Like be stuck in your kitchen perfecting the shit out of this amazing burger that no one will ever taste besides yourself, or still taking action,
like bigger, bigger. I think what I'm interpreting from this is like, you know, being willing to play bigger, to move towards what you want.
Absolutely.
You know,
I've got a question for you. Do you want your 2024 to look exactly the same, or are you ready for some sassy wake-up calls around your money world and a fire to be lit under your eyes? Introducing the Money Queen Coaching Package, a 6-week journey which has already been a key pivotal experience for queens just like you to shift their relationship with money. Get a personalized sacred money archetype reading, which is pretty much like a human design, but for your money world, filled with aha moments and 2 tailored 90-minute sessions to reset your money mindset and unleash your magnetic power. Click the link in the show notes to claim your throne, Queen.
Yeah. And that's what this gym's doing. Like, I'm telling you, the moment I got it, like, you know, Geordie and I, we upgraded, you know, our gym gear. I bought a bike that I've been saying I've been wanting to buy for the longest time. And then the moment I join the gym, I go and buy it. And now I'm walking more, I'm riding more, I'm exercising more, I'm looking after my, you know, physical and mental health so much more. I'm way more intentional about what I consume because I know how much money and time I'm spending investing in my health. So why would I now go quote unquote ruin it? And so it's like, it's amazing how one decision creates so much growth. And now I feel like a little bit more comfortable being the small fish in a big pond, or whatever the terminology is, because I put myself in there and I'm like sitting in the discomfort until it's no longer as uncomfortable.
Yeah. And I think the analogy of big fish in the little pond, no, little fish in the big pond,
Yes.
is relevant to go like, some would look at you and your journey and be like, she's such a big fish. Like the revenue numbers that you're doing, the clients that you have, the journey that you've been on in such a short time, be like, she is a huge fish, and be intimidated
But it's
by
because
that.
I put myself in the big pond.
Exactly.
So the environment I'm playing in, I feel small.
Yeah.
And but I'm growing faster than I probably even realize. Whereas if I stayed comfortable to actually be the big fish in that room, you know, I wouldn't grow as fast. So yeah.
What's the purpose? You'd be like, oh, cool.
Yeah.
So I'm this big fish in this pond right now, and
it boosts the ego, like being the, you know, the leader or whatever. But it doesn't have the same effect. Definitely not.
Yeah, exactly. So to that point of you being a big fish in any pond right now, the latest launch that you had,
Yes.
sales of 128,000, and on one of your podcasts, you're like, that was just so easy.
Mm.
Like, how was that so easy? And you spoke a little bit about your relationship with money early on and how it sort of evolved. And I just want you to talk to the audience about like what really shifted for you in the last few months or last few years for that to be able to be your experience. Because a lot of people, when they start out in business or they get to like the 3-year mark in business or the 5-year mark, 6-year, it's like, I've hit a wall right now and I'm just doing the same shit and expecting the same results, and like definition of insanity right there. So like for you to continuously evolve and upgrade and level up, and for the process to actually get easier as opposed to harder, like talk to me about that.
Yeah, so I think I always try and give context to the word easy because it can so easily be misinterpreted. So when I say easy, I don't mean that I laid back and I did nothing, kind of easy, of like, oh, I just make money in my sleep without trying. That's not what I mean by easy. But what I do mean is that when you consistently do anything, you're going to get better at it and it's going to become easier. So like the gym, like day 1 going there, very scary. Day 2, less scary, and so forth. And now I can go in there blindfolded and not really care, you know? And so it gets easier with time in the game, with persistence, with action and leaning into it. And so when I say easy, it's just because I've done so many launches now. No matter whether it's a quote unquote good one, a bad one, a failed one, a successful one, I keep showing up, and not just showing up from the lens of like mindlessly doing things for the sake of doing things, but really intentionally. So at the end of every launch I sit back and I ask myself 3 questions. Those questions are, what worked? What didn't work, and what am I going to do differently? And so I learn from every single thing I do. It's a non-negotiable I do after every launch. But in the earlier days of my business, it was something I asked even more frequently. Like after one sales call, what worked about that call? What didn't work? What am I going to do differently? And so I'd learn from everything I did, which allows you to apply those learnings and it get better and better every time, so to speak. And so it felt easy because I have just built and tested and iterated for so long that some things just come so naturally, and you naturally just get more confident, get more experience, get more brand awareness the more time you spend in the game. And I think that's why it felt really easy, because I've been willing to go through all of the moments of it not working or being harder or whatever. I now have systems and processes for everything. I have support for everything. And you know, you can replicate and duplicate things from the last launch and bring it in. Like it does just get easier from that lens. But only if you are willing to lean in even when it's not working and even when it is hard. So I think that's why it was, it felt so easy and effortless. And then there's the mindset piece of when I feel good, good things happen. And so because I always prioritize that with my health, with my fitness, I have a mindset coach, I'm working on myself always. That gives me the best possible opportunity to feel good and have a positive focus and lens on the world and my life and my business, which supports me to show up better and therefore get better results.
There's 3 words I have picked up on this episode so far. Consistency and commitment. Forget the third one. Obviously not relevant. Something starting with Sue. And
clarity, maybe?
No, it's not it.
Confidence.
Consistency, commitment, and like constantly trying to like evolve and learn. And where vulnerability is the word, definitely not a C word. Something that you've been doing this year with your podcast is you set out your intentions for the year.
Yep.
And you then record an episode to go, these are my goals for the year. And I'm actually going to check in with you every month in alignment with the goals that I set to hold myself accountable and to show everybody else like your level of vulnerability, your level of commitment, your level of action that you're taking, perhaps the level of inaction you're taking, and then what you're then going to do because you've learned from that. And those 3 questions, so I pinked in my mind to be like, oh, that's what you ask yourself about every goal.
Exactly.
So, like, that to me is a hidden gem that everyone can implement. What are the goals that I set for this year? And how can I check back in every month? Even better if you have a podcast, do exactly what you're doing to be like, I'm being held publicly accountable for this to then drive the year and have like the best results possible. Because I think in your second month, you're like, I haven't joined the gym yet. Please tell me if I've like not done this. So it's like, how can you utilize the systems, the processes, the people, the environment that have been created around me to evolve myself, to allow my business to grow, for me to evolve personally. Talk to me about the courage that's required to show up like that.
It is so uncomfortable. I knew what I was going into because it's something I did back in 2018, but on my YouTube channel, I did something called 52 Weeks of Personal Growth, where every single Monday for that entire year, I showed up and I shared my week and my learnings and my goals. And that was the hardest year of my life. And so it absolutely took courage to decide I'm going to enter that realm again, but via the podcast. And, now I'm doing a monthly episode rather than weekly. Nonetheless, the concept's obviously the same. And it is scary because it really holds you accountable, not just to yourself, but to every single person listening. And, even when it comes to the gym, you best believe when I knew that I had to record that podcast episode and I hadn't yet joined the gym, that played a huge role in why I joined the gym. I had in my calendar that I needed to record an episode of my February monthly review. And I was like, I am not going on to that episode saying, I made such a point in the January one to say, tell me off if I haven't joined the gym, because I knew I was going to avoid it. And there I bloody was, a day before recording the episode, and I hadn't freaking joined. I'm like, I can't do this. I called the gym and joined, And I think that accountability piece, and that can show up in coaching containers and so forth as well, is so key. And I just know from, being a big passionate person when it comes to goal setting, I know that if you share it, you are statistically so much more likely to achieve it. And so, yes, there is courage there. And then the other piece is that I know that it's going to support me to have a really good year. And if worst case scenario, I didn't reach my goals and I had a really hard year like I did in 2018 when I owned it, hey, that's actually where the growth is. Because I have to sit in the discomfort of I said one thing and I did another, or life threw a massive curveball. And this is me being an embodiment and practicing what I'm preaching on how I'm going to deal with that. So I fully know anything could happen this year, whether it's good, bad, something in between. And I just know that, it's going to say a lot how I deal with that, regardless of what the outcomes are. And so for my own growth, I have a strong desire and willingness to lean into that.
Love that. To circle back to something that you said earlier, or the question that I posed about your recent launch being so easy.
Yes.
That adds even more context to go, it may look easy now from an outsider's point of view.
A lot of work behind
it. You've been doing this for years.
Yeah.
And that consistency and that commitment to showing up, to add value, to create impact. And now after many, many years, not just in business, but just like the YouTube channel as well, like that's when money becomes the byproduct.
Yes.
So that's why it's easeful for you now to actually be like, actually, business can be fun. It can be playful. I can say yes to a sunny coast day on a whim because I've created this life. It has not been overnight.
No. Yeah.
Many, many intentional choices.
Yeah.
Many commitments, much consistency. And that's now created what you have now and what you're embodying and also experiencing.
And same in 2018 when I did that, that segment on YouTube, I was not a coach then. That was literally the very first year I truly went into personal development. I got inspiration from seeing someone else do something similar on YouTube. And that was really the beginning of my personal development journey. And if you go back and watch those videos and see baby Sofia, I'm a very different person. I was crying in a lot of those videos. I could not keep it together with the things that, I went through a breakup that year. I lost so much weight. I got fired from my job. I was alone for the first time in my life, like living in I shouldn't say Australia is a new country because it's not, but I had just been living overseas for 4 years with my family and I moved back here on my own. And then in some of those videos, I was living with my grandparents. Like, you really see me in my shit for a year straight. And so I didn't have a business then. In fact, if you go back and watch the videos, I thought I was going to be a wedding planner and all these things because I was so lost. This was my year of like, I am lost. I have no idea what to do in my life. And if you actually went back and watched those videos every week, you would realize like how I got here and see a really clear before and after. Like if you watch them every week, I'm like, oh no, I'm not doing a wedding plan anymore. I'm going to university and I'm doing this. And every week I'm telling you, I was changing my mind. I was trying to figure it out. And if that's not evidence of like a before, like most people see the after, like they'll see 128K launch, amazing. Yeah. 2018, different story, but I was still showing up. I was trying to figure it out. And that innocence and leaning in really, really helped me. But what's cool is that, I was filming those videos and I had that commitment to showing up every week on YouTube. I wasn't being paid. I didn't have a business. I didn't have anything I was going to get out of it. I got nothing out of it in terms of external money or whatever. And kind of like you said, from doing this from a long time, the confidence and the skills that were probably built through doing that then absolutely have supported me in my business now. So it's like when people say, oh, I built to $1 million in the first year, it's like, oh yeah, remember to mention your 10-year marketing degree that happened before that. Yes, you weren't in business, but that 10 years absolutely supported you. And I think that context is so important. So yeah, 128K launch in sales and in Australian dollars, by the way, is massive and amazing. And a lot has gone behind the scenes to build up to that. And I was just as happy on day one of my business when I made my first $1,200 sale. It's actual equal happiness, to be honest.
And I think when you're able to liken your experience from the first sale to every other subsequent sale, that's when there's an embodiment piece of going, it's not about the money. It's about the impact.
Yeah.
Because the first sale is just as good as the 6th, 7th, 8th, 10th, 100th.
Yes.
It's
yeah.
like,
if anything, the first one was more exciting. Now it's a lot more normal, but grateful nonetheless. And I can take myself right back to day one of my business in a heartbeat. Like it's not like I'm, I've just forgotten all of that. Like that will forever be a part of me that I love reflecting on. And because the growth is like, actually speaking back to values, my top value is actually growth. And so for me, it's like, and you can see that in like me doing the video every week for a year on my YouTube channel. It was for the growth. It was literally called 52 weeks of personal growth. Like that was the outcome I wanted. The reason I was able to commit to it and sometimes film those videos very late at night on a Monday because I had to get it up on the Monday. What's driving me is the growth and that commitment piece to that was super key.
And what I love about that, I'm going to assume the answer, like no one was expecting it to be released on a Monday.
No one gave a fuck.
But
I did.
But you gave a fuck.
Yes.
Like if you didn't, it'd be like, oh,
that
cool.
would have hit me hard. Yeah. It wasn't an option.
Yeah.
It actually wasn't an option. I'm like, I'm getting this out there. And you see that in the lighting and how I look in some of the videos of, sometimes I would I had just a full day of doing all this stuff. And I say it in the video. I'm like, I've been so busy, but I wanted to get this out. Sometimes the videos were 5 minutes instead of 15 minutes, but it was about getting it done. And the extent I went to do it sometimes was extreme for something I was not being paid for. And I think that's direct reflection of like, yeah, money's amazing, but is it the driving force? No.
Love that. Now, last question,
Mm-hmm.
which is a surprise one.
Oh no, this will be interesting.
What's one thing that people don't know about your business that may surprise them?
Oh my God. One thing about my business that no one knows that may surprise them.
Yeah. Or that very few people know. It can be about your business journey as well.
That's an amazing question that I'm going to sit on for just myself even after this. But to be honest, like I think what's really coming up for me is it's hard to articulate how much I care. Like I think it is really hard to demonstrate like how, and I'm not saying this is always necessarily a healthy thing, but I do think about my clients a lot. I think about, you know, how other people feel a lot, how I feel, the growth. I pay attention a lot to all the details, like even things like, okay, accounting and stuff like that. And, you know, this is evidence of this on our walk yesterday when I was having this conversation with you. It's like, I might not fully understand something, but I really want to because I care. It's like, I don't want to do accounting and bookkeeping. I absolutely do not want to do that. Do I know it's essential and important and game changer and healthy and the right thing to do? Yes. So do I try and lean into it and understand it or delegate it or whatever? Absolutely. Like for me, it blows my mind how people like avoid those things because like it's obviously, well, you could see it as cheaper to like not pay for an accountant or bookkeeper, but I'd rather do that and like have it be done properly and be doing the right things than not. And so I think it's just like overall like really deep care factor. And don't get me wrong, I know that people know that, but maybe like the depths of like, hey, I like, you know, maybe to a particular client, like I think about you a lot. I like really care and I'll be swimming in the pool at the gym and be like, I got to tell my client this is a good idea for them, you know, like I really just like care at that level. And when I say this might not always be healthy is like, you know, I've definitely had to navigate overcoming like certain people pleasing things or not taking too much responsibility for other people. But I think when you get that right, then it's okay and a good thing to care. So I think I just really care about my team, myself, my business, the future, what's happening now and everything in between. Yeah.
Added bonus question because you said it. What does the future look like for you?
Good
in
question.
The next 2 years, because I think 5-year business plans are a piece of shit because just so many things can
I know
change.
Yeah, and so whilst I am, you know, goal orientated, you know, love looking at the future, equally at the same time I'm very much in the moment of like, how can this month be a really good month opposed to looking too far ahead. So there's no like exact plans. However, you know, something that comes up for me is I know that somewhere in the next 5 years and likely before that, I would love to have a family. And a lot of the decisions I make now in terms of the business structure and the desire to grow the business is absolutely making sure that there is the most solid foundations of the business so that when I do have children that I can be really present and really be there. So I think that drives a lot of the decisions is like, I know I want to have a family and I want to be there for that family. I want to be able to provide for that family and everything like that. And that's, you know, really starts with, okay, let's grow the business as much as possible. And I think you can be a mum and a boss CEO that makes a fuck ton of money. And I know that naturally your reality absolutely changes. And so if I can capitalize on my time without children, without a house mortgage, all of those things to really like go big, take the risk and grow it as much as possible, you know, you best believe that's what I'm going to do. So I just like go hard or go home right now.
I love that. In my head, I'm like, yes, high risk whilst you're young and you've still got so many years ahead of you. Absolutely. None of this like medium or low risk stuff.
No. All in or nothing. Yeah,
absolutely. Well, talk to me about, or tell the audience rather, who is your ideal client? How can you help them shift their reality and where can they find you?
So I help female coaches and service-based businesses, so consultants, healers, mentors, all of the things. And I help you to start, grow and scale your online business. So I teach from a lens of simple strategies. I teach my online event formula. I teach mindset and energetics because I really believe that those are the components that are required to scale sustainably. And I'm all about the sustainable and simple route. Like I don't want, like I said, I don't have history of burnout in my journey. I have history of difficult times, obviously, but no burnout because of the way that I make sure I do things that feel good and adjust accordingly. So that's the lens that I teach from. So if you are a coach, business owner, and you want to learn these simple strategies to start and grow, I really try and teach everything required like on that journey, other than of course accounting and legalities. That I'm like, go to Alex, go to someone else, not me. But everything else, I've got your back there. And my Instagram is at Sofia Rose Bernardi. And because you're listening to this podcast episode and you love a good podcast, definitely come over to Rising Coaches with Sofia Bernardi, listen to the episode with Alex, and any other episodes that grab your attention. But yeah, come say hi on Instagram. Let me know your biggest takeaway from today, and thanks for having me.
You are so welcome.
Thank you, Queen, for saying yes to your yes in listening to this episode and being a part of raising the feminine collective one conversation at a time. Remember to share this episode with your business besties and join me in breaking the tabooness around having money conversations. As always, if you have enjoyed this episode, please rate, subscribe, and share this on your social media, remembering to tag me in it to help this conversation go further, which creates a bigger ripple effect.